Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Ram Shergill, internationally acclaimed British fashion photographer and artist. Over to you, Ram.
Good afternoon, Christina. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to DAMFest Europe. I would like to thank Henry Stewart Events for inviting me to speak at DAMFest Europe. It is a pleasure to be here. Over the years, I have photographed for many magazines and campaigns around the world, and I have made people buy into a lifestyle aesthetic. Photographing for many magazines, such as Vogue and Harper's Bazaar, and creating campaigns for many advertising companies worldwide. It has been a high-profile career, and I've enjoyed creating a fantasy so it can add happiness to people's lives. Creating beautiful images allowed me to make people believe in that fantasy through a product. This led me to create more artistic images, as well as having many exhibitions around the world. In addition to the artworks, I created film poster campaigns for many blockbuster films, as you can see here. The fantasy would be a magical one, creating dream factories through various types of imagery. So you may ask yourself, what is a photographic regenerative interface? What does this mean? The constant flux of images that are being manipulated, repurposed, and fed to humans are being used as a way for the consumer of the image to believe that they have the potential to see something which is an extension of their imagination. A proportion of the film posters that I create are not always just one image. They're a collage of repurposed and regenerated images. Images were once discarded and not thought of. Images potentially that were left on the cutting room floor. As you can see here, I did this recent campaign with Akshay Kumar, a fantastic actor. And we shot this over COVID. And this image is a plethora of many images made into one, which I had to take. And there were some which were not actually taken by me. So the journey of the image between the advertising agent or brand manager is becoming more and more dependent on digital asset management companies. For example, now due to the images not being able to be produced as efficiently as they used to, there is more of a calling from pre-existing images. The images that are chosen by the brand make up to 5% of a photo shoot. 95% of the images I take are not the chosen ones and do not make the printing process, and they do not get used. So, what's really important here is to, have a look at how these images are now being taken, asked for by companies which can repurpose them. For example, now there's even digital model agencies. There's model agencies that are made from various different, models that are made from various different sections of images to create a digital and virtual model. So think of it as a jigsaw puzzle of images. Using DAM, digital asset management, can benefit this workflow, as the images and rights of the images can be managed by the click of a button. This helps in all kinds of advertising and fashion imagery, allowing the consumer to imagine and achieve a lifestyle. The practical implications are absolutely vast in how these images are stored, tagged, the amount of hashtags, metadata, and also the implications and ethics for usages, which has to be all managed. It's almost like a sustainable way to look at image making and photography. I mean, why waste all these images? I mean, memory, these memories we have, regenerate them, renewal, especially now with COVID-19, there's more of a big demand for clients to look at my archives for the pre-existing images. They will reuse, regenerate, and take the images for their advantage. So many shoots cannot be achieved during COVID. It's very difficult with all the travel restrictions, lockdown measures. This can be a very creative way to look at images as assets. So I contend that the regenerated image is thus the interface, the link between the brand and the consumer, allowing for a conducive and productive relationship. Image regeneration is manifold. When we regenerate and replicate our imaginations in our minds, these are our assets, our visuals, our images, our writings, our stories. Through photography, we can show the world in a multitude array of different gestures. Each human's eyes and minds are absolutely unique. We are all individuals through photography. systems can potentially be able to manage individual assets for all types of photographers. Whether you're a professional or an amateur, I mean, come on, have you ever thought of how many millions of images you have or in your iPhones, or do you store them on hard drives? They're unseen, they're, you know, on different phones all over your apartment, they're everywhere. They're just millions of images that haven't been seen. You know, what do you do with all these images? You know, everyone's a photographer now. So, you know, we can think of photography, you know, like, and relate to the photographic image more psychologically, like a mirror. If you see something that's achievable in an image, you want to grab it. You know, think of Mike TV and Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I mean, you want that chocolate bar and you want it now. You know, grab it. Fashion photography is an explicit culprit of this. Catalogs from the 1950s, 1970s were a popular way of allowing you to visualize how you could look or achieve a lifestyle aesthetic. For example, you know, photography lets you believe that if you wear a certain product, you become that person that you saw in the image. If you buy that car that was in the ad, you can attain that certain lifestyle. You can be popular, have many friends, and influence people. Now, if you buy the Harry Winston diamond necklace, you'll be as happy and as beautiful as the girl in the ad. She's got the perfect man. She's got the perfect house, perfect children, and also she has perfect teeth. So decide for yourself. I want that life, so I will buy into it. It will make me. Or if I want to be perfect, have a wonderful wife or husband, I'll have to work extra hard and buy him or her that diamond necklace, or more than an affordable watch. She or him will love me more. Everything will fall into place. So advertisers and brand managers see it like a game of tennis, trying to keep the momentum up, making people think that through buying these certain lifestyle of the image they want to live in will also allow them and to actually let them live and have an actual life, leading them to believe they will actually have the whole world in their hands. So imagine a world without photography. There are no photographic albums, no advertising billboards, no film, no television, no smartphone, no Instagram. How would this make us feel? We might consider our entertainment would be possibly through painting, viewing nature, looking at the stars. The stars would be more visible. The millions of different organisms and species would fulfill our wonderment. The bird song would also seem so relevant to our daily lives. Entertainment would possibly consist of the theatre, performance, and dance. In 2020, we could have been seeing the potential advancement of the Comédie de l'Art, where a contemporary harlequin would be the protagonist of the day. Aside from entertainment, how would have technology developed? And science, with the multiple ways that now we can use photography and imaging to understand diseases, pathogens, from microscopic imaging to biological imaging and endoscopy. A friend of mine recently told me, who is a doctor, that the reason why robots are used more often in surgery, he mentioned that the hand of a robot with a scalpel can get accuracy to 1/10 of a millimeter, if not more, allowing for more accuracy, potentially more than a human hand. This is pertinent in many prostatectomies. Photography in this century has become a necessary part of our everyday lives, which we now actually rely on its objective viewpoint of the world and the universe. So it could be argued that images are currently constantly manipulated to make us believe something is not necessarily true. With the plethora of fake news and stories to emotionally captivate and target us for capitalistic needs, the manipulated image is not a new one. We can see many important images in history that have been doctored to make us believe more than what is actually true and factual. Many images have been culprits of this over the years, where images were used for propaganda, exclusively for political gain over population. I mean, now you can look at Leni Riefenstahl in the famous film Triumph of the Will, which was a totally silent film. And what happened was, if you ever look at it, you'll see it was beautifully shot. It was shot at a very low angle. It was all black and white. It allowed you to believe that you would, if you believed in Adolf Hitler, that you could have a fantastic life. But really, look what happened. Horrific. So Antoine Wirtz in 1855 predicted the future of photography, calling the camera a machine. I quote, "For some years, it has been a glory of our century to have given birth to a machine, which daily astonishes the mind and startles the eyes. Before another century is out, this machine will be the brush, the palette, have the colors, the skill, the experience, patience and dexterity, accuracy, tonality, varnish, model, realization with the extract of painting." And this was quoted by Walter Benjamin, who's a famous philosopher as well. So we ask ourselves, why do people not read as much as they used to? Children and adults now prefer to read images. They literally scan the image for necessary information rather than read a complex text. Furthermore, the image is almost vitalized with the backlight of a smartphone, making the photograph stand out even more, making it seem alive. The image nowadays stands out as a gateway into another universe. I mean, look at the times that you look on your Instagram, how many times a day? We can call it a type of optical ontology. The image is present and allows us for immediate interpretation. So we're now infiltrated by billions of photographs every day, whether it's of a cat or a dog, or my beautiful elephant you just saw, or a moving image in our Instagram stories, an influencer trying on a dress. It's all there, a world for you to view in the palm of your hand. Maybe it could be suggested that we have all become gods. I remember that hymn vividly while growing up at school. He's got the whole world in his hand. I mean, we might consider, who is he? Who is he? Who's he? Oh, basically, he has become we. We have got the whole world in our hands, or so it would seem. So images have been manipulated and regenerated from the beginning of time. So if we look at the caveman's drawings, they were regenerated into lines and symbols in what we today call text and writing. The cave drawings developed into lines. The lines then formed into shapes and symbols, creating text and linear writing, which would allow humans to imagine ways to relate to the words which would be signifiers of those lines. The gathering of the lines in various permutations and combinations would allow more images to manifest in our heads. Words became the new cave paintings, linear constructions intertwined in an array of symbols and images to portray a vision. So you can see the development of the cave painting turning into a line, into linear format. You look at the words, and then when you look at the words, they signify what the painting was. So this was quite proven with hieroglyphics. If we look at early languages, in Egyptian hieroglyphics, a set of images, bodies and symbols, which were also images, drawings and symbols combined to relay a picture both visually and in our minds. The new picture was exceptionally advanced as it could also relay emotion and feeling too. In a word alone, or words grouped together, which was a sentence, translating movements of pictures or emotions, relaying them to our minds and visions. One could argue the splinter in our mind's eye became the earliest form of photographic regenerative interface. So in a nutshell, our eye photographs the symbol, our mind visualizes and processes the image, our body, being, memory, and vocabulary becomes the interface to relay the message to others. Knowledge becomes a collective gathering of all our mind's photographs in one place. The brain, the mind, body, soul, and spirit cohesively and collectively harbor all of these images, and which we have seen and read, whether it might be the many books we have read or the library of images in our heads, which also allows us to now make decisions. So the saying, when you die, you literally see your whole life flashing past you. All of your life is stored in your photographic memory. The flashbacks you have, the beautiful and ugly times, the birth of a new baby, your first kiss, the happiness and the sadness. It's all in our photography memory, our photographic memory. We might consider the storage in our brain is not of a 64 gigabyte memory card. It is of a whole lifetime. The plentiful images that we see every day, or novels or books, social media stories, films, advertising in combination with our emotions and actual visual starting points manifest themselves at night in our dreams and our nightmares. Our mind then reflects them back to us. The storage in our bodies and brains needs to outpour these images. So we actually do see too much. Why is it the last thing that you think of at night is sometimes that what you would dream about? I did used to have this special quality, magical quality of having a dream, waking up suddenly, then being able to go back and enter that dream again, as I wanted to complete the dream so badly. This mainly happened when I was a child of 7 years old. I guess this could have been done very successfully. You know why? Because my photographic memory was not full yet, and it was easier to do. So I want you to picture this, or picture yourself, you're in a forest and you live by a beautiful running waterfall. Nature is everywhere. There are no mobile phones, no clothes, nothing. What will you dream about? You will most probably just dream about what you saw, nothing else, just stars, sounds, bird song, water, the climate, the sunshine, the plants you will eat, the beautiful animals you see in the forest every day. Your mind, we could say your hard drive memory, will not be polluted by a multitude of images, industry, death, and destruction. So a fantastic philosopher, Willem Flusser, articulates the rise of the technical image. He says, I think there is a long history to the philosophy of images. Most of it is negative because due to our philosophy, it has prejudice as far as images are concerned. It is prejudice to say that an image is only a copy, a simulation, so that either it is forbidden to make images or images are being accepted with great distrust. But I think this is now changing because these images no longer represent the world. These new images are new articulations of thought. They are not copies, but projection models. So bringing it back, how many times have you heard the book is actually better than the film? Why do we say that all the time? It's due to the manifestation of how our individual minds perceives and relays the linear words that are spread on the page, whereas the film has preconceived imagery relaying a thought, aesthetics and emotions. With the book, you make your own film. You're basically your own director. You can make so many different stories in your brain, your mind, your soul, your spirit. You know, these symbols and texts and everything, they relay your own thing. Similar thing with pop videos or songs. You make a pop video in your head full of images. So you make a whole life story and you relay, you know, I mean, why is it when we listen to Adele, we're always crying? I mean, come on, sorry. But anyway, but this is a famous, brilliant artist, James Bland, did this painting of me. So Moholy-Nagy asserts in saying that, so now once again, photography took over from painting. The creative possibilities of the new are usually discovered slowly in those old forms, old instruments, and areas of work, which owing to the appearance of the new have in all essentials already had their day, but which blossom euphorically under the stimulus of what is happening. So Moholy-Nagy was right in saying the fact that creative possibilities of the new would have been explicated by the camera, blossoming euphorically in a technical image. So my photography has allowed me not only to be limited to the black box of image making where the camera is a machine, or a tool to enhance my human experience, nor is it just to capture a moment in time or a memory for me. It is an extension of me. The machine becomes an extension of my I, an extension of my soul, and it allows me to create magical worlds, a universe where I wish to be. So why is it I love photography? I intertwine with my subject in a metaphysical relationship. I become them, the subject becomes me. Together we swap identities for that fraction of a moment. I live my fantasy through the subject. One day I could be a hero. One day I might be a beautiful woman. The next day I might become a posthuman, or a critical posthuman in my case. The technical image has become so advanced today. It is a collection of millions of pixels, each one individually coded by numbers, which has a unique language of its own. The pixels are now becoming incorporated with a vital form of artificial intelligence, in which they are moved in various ways. Once you add computational programming to enhance this movement, however, this movement will be active and be forming a new type of active matter. So what if these pixels actually became alive and jumped literally out of your computer screen and formed globules of matter with a unique life of their own? So don't be scared, it could be a possibility. It's interesting we talk about how image from the cave went from cave to text to linear writing, then it's gone back into text, being put into code as binary systems and numerical systems and code for computers. So it becomes text again. So I predict in future, photography will become more than a tool. It will allow us to replicate and regenerate. I predict how the line drawing was to the architect and the pen was to the writer. The camera will be the new pen in creating a mechanistic device for designing the world and discovering the universe. So let's look at some potential and novel applications of imagery and my predictions. So I'm going to propose 8 ways in which I think photography can definitely progress into the future. So number 1 is augmented mind image. Your mind sees the image and you will be able to transfer what you see onto a digital screen with photoreceptors. So basically the photoreceptors will be in your brain and it will allow you to see the screen, which will see what your brain has been speaking to you. Number 2, autonomous intelligent photoreparative systems. That sounds like a mouthful, but in simple terms, systems that will automatically repair and reconstruct injuries. So human body tissue damage with a combination of robots, technology, using 3D printing and fractal software to mend and repair human tissue via photographic methods. Architectural design through photography, using the photography as a tool to take a picture, you put it in your Instagram, you can create a building, or you put it on an app or create something totally new, put a few buildings together even, So another one, photographic cosmetography, which is skin repair, human photographic cosmetic surgery, where the camera is used as a tool to aestheticize the human face, to create a new layer of skin, a new epidermis for a newer and more fabulous face. Phototrophic designs, using the camera to reconstruct parts of the plants, nature, newer trees, barks, imaging, using existing samples and biogenically recreating the matter via image regeneration, novel designs. Photopolymeric printing with living organisms. This is already happening with fantastic architects such as Neri Oxman and various other people around the world. Biological imaging systems, using predictive growth and form technologies. Human progression through imagery, enabling us to see how your baby will grow. The photographic image will regenerate the body capacity through diet and predictive technologies. So I don't know, I'm sure that everybody knows here that everybody that I know or has shown you a photograph of their baby in the womb. And I always see this image and it's really lovely and sweet, but maybe in future, this image will be able to be manipulated in a way fractally to see if you gave that baby certain diet, if you gave it certain food, how would it grow? How would it not have ailments in the future? How will it not have cancers? So there could be various different types of way that imagery can be used, and it is being used at the moment. Adaptive optics, getting deeper, looking into living organisms, using light-based regenerative systems, multi-photon microscopy with adaptive optics, then can make it easier to study the brain. So now there's a system that there's a lot of research happening all over the world where you can see directly into the skull and into the brain, but it can actually go into the whole kind of brain where you can see through light and different technologies. So there's so many potential uses for photography. So I conclude, photographic regeneration will be a big industry and already is beginning to be. It has not been labeled as such. Maybe humans are still scared to admit that a mere photograph could be so important to our everyday lives. It's a challenge to our perception. It will be pertinent for digital asset management systems to be put into place to manage, organize, and create productive workflow in terms of organizing digital assets, adaptive metadata systems, assigning unique descriptions to each asset, assets with artificial intelligence capabilities, gallery-like interfaces. Most importantly, the system should be user-friendly, and they will be progressive in terms of advancing photographic methods. The image today in our mind and our experience, whether it's an event or an happening, cannot be unseen. It will stay in our minds and systems forever. It will need to be explicitly managed. So now I'm conducting PhD research at University College London, the Bartlett School of Architecture, researching into bioregenerative interfaces. I would like to thank Professor Marcus Cruz and Dr. Brenda Parker, who are my supervisors. Here are some of the credits from the photographs that you saw earlier today. Thank you very much.
Oh, Ram, that was fantastic. Thank you. What a visually stimulating talk. I really enjoyed that. I feel like I could just keep listening to you now for a while. Unfortunately, we don't have any time for questions, but I just wanted to thank you very much for this session. And an interesting piece that I pulled out from what you said is that the idea that because we all have smartphones, we all have access to a camera now, that we are all gods. But actually, you know, I've got the smartphone and I don't have the eye, I don't have the talent that you do. And you know, I think that's something that is special and will never be replaceable, you know. And so, yeah, I think we can all still be inspired by incredible photographers like yourself, and the art and fantasy that you make us believe we can live.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.